Imagine opening your eyes to find yourself alone, enveloped by the silent hush of a mysterious forest at twilight. The air is heavy and cool. The trees tower over you in twisting shapes, and every path forward seems obscured by shadows. This is where Dante Alighieri, the central figure of his own epic poem, The Divine Comedy, begins his unforgettable journey. Composed in the early 14th century, Dante's masterpiece is a vast, sweeping vision of the afterlife, divided into three realms: hell, inferno; purgatory, purgatorio; and heaven, paradiso. Across its pages, Dante embarks on a soul-stirring pilgrimage, meeting legendary poets, tormented sinners, repentant souls, and radiant angels, all leading him toward profound spiritual enlightenment. It's both a grand adventure and a deeply personal story, a blend of vivid imagery, moral philosophy, and passionate longing for divine love. Our story unfolds in a moment of personal crisis. Dante, who by this point in his life has experienced exile and disillusionment, metaphorically finds himself in the middle of life's journey, having strayed from the straight path of virtue. The dents would symbolize his moral confusion and spiritual peril. He's terrified, disoriented, and searching desperately for a way out. As he gropes through the darkness, he encounters three fearsome beasts: a leopard, a lion, and a she-wolf, each representing a different kind of sin and temptation. These creatures block every route of escape, and Dante feels close to despair. Just as all hope seems lost, a gentle, patient figure emerges from the gloom. It is Virgil, the ancient Roman poet Dante has admired for years, long dead but now appearing as a guide. Virgil's voice is calm and steady. He tells Dante that the only way forward, indeed, the only way to escape this forest of spiritual doom, is to journey through the very depths of the afterlife itself. They must descend into the infernal realm, witness the fate of damned souls, climb the mountain of purification known as Purgatory, and then ascend into heaven to understand the true nature of God's love and justice. Dante, still trembling, agrees. With that, they begin one of the most famous odysseys in all of literature, the descent into Inferno, the realm of eternal punishment. They pass through the gates of hell, where these immortal words are carved above the threshold: "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here." Immediately, the atmosphere grows stifling. Dante hears the wails of the damned echoing through corridors of gloom. The pair must cross the dark river Acheron, ferried by the dread boatman Charon. Beyond it, the circles of hell open up before them, one below another, spiraling down into a pit of unimaginable agony, each circle punishing a different category of sin. In the uppermost circles, Dante and Virgil encounter souls whose sins, though serious, are less grievous than those further down. The punishments are fittingly symbolic. Within the tempest of the second circle, the lustful are forever tossed about by a ferocious whirlwind, their passions now a literal storm that never ceases. Here Dante meets Paolo and Francesca, lovers who surrendered to forbidden desire. Their story of love and betrayal moves Dante to tears. Far from gawking at their torment, Dante's reaction reveals his compassionate, human side. He sees in them the tragedy of misguided love. In a lower circle reserved for gluttons, greedy souls lie in a vile slush under a ceaseless, foul rain. In the circle of the avaricious and prodigal, the damned roll giant weights in a never-ending, pointless struggle, a haunting reminder of how their lives on earth revolved around material wealth, now reduced to a meaningless burden. The further Dante descends, the more severe and horrifying the punishments become. The city of Dis, an iron fortress, marks the boundary between the relatively lighter sins and those of a more malicious nature. Here, Dante confronts heretics who doubted the soul's immortality, eternally trapped in red-hot sepulchres. Deeper down, violent sinners are immersed in a river of boiling blood, guarded by centaurs who stand ready with drawn bows. As Dante and Virgil move on, each step brings stranger shapes and more grotesque scenery. A forest of twisted trees housing the souls of suicides, harpies feeding upon their leaves. A scorched plain of fiery sands where blasphemers lie supine, cursing the heavens as burning flakes fall upon them like rain. The tension mounts as Dante reaches the Malbolge, a set of 10 ditches encircling Hell's 8th circle, each punishing a different form of fraud. This section is a gallery of increasingly cunning and hypocritical criminals. Panderers and seducers are whipped by demons. Flatterers wade through human waste. Simoniacs who sold religious offices are plunged headfirst into rock crevices, their feet aflame. The horrors feel relentless. Dante meets notorious figures from history and myth. He observes fortune-tellers forced to walk with their heads twisted backward, never able to see what lies ahead, symbolic of their attempt to see the future in life. He encounters corrupt political leaders and deceptive counselors screaming in agony, wrapped in tongues of fire. Each encounter teaches him another lesson about the moral order of the universe. Sin is not just an action, but a corrosion of the spirit that contorts and disfigures the soul. At last, Dante and Virgil approach the final circle of hell, the frozen Cocytus, where traitors are trapped in sheets of ice. Here, the atmosphere is eerily quiet and bitterly cold, a stark contrast to the fiery punishments above. Dante discovers that the worst sin in this moral cosmos is treachery, especially against friends, family, or benefactors. The innermost region, Judea, named after Judas Iscariot, houses the arch-traitors, each locked in ice, weeping frozen tears. And at the very center, they find Lucifer himself, gigantic, grotesque, with 3 faces and bat-like wings that perpetually flap, generating the icy wind that keeps hell frozen. Each of his mouths chews on a notorious betrayer, Judas, who betrayed Christ, and Brutus and Cassius, who betrayed Caesar. Overwhelmed by terror and awe, Dante clings to Virgil as they climb down Lucifer's hairy sides, passing through the center of the earth. In a miraculous turn, once they pass that midpoint, they emerge on the other side, ready to ascend again. Dante has confronted the lowest depths of human depravity. Now, he must purify his soul. The second stage of Dante's journey is the climb through Purgatory, the mountain of purification. If Inferno was about witnessing sin's grim consequences, Purgatory is about hope, redemption, and personal struggle. Dante and Virgil emerge on the shores of an island dominated by a colossal mountain. Bright stars shine above, an immediate contrast with hell's darkness. Souls here are not damned. They suffer, but their suffering is temporary and purposeful. Each soul is striving, through penance and moral effort, to rise toward God's grace. As Dante enters this new realm, he finds the atmosphere lighter, the colors gentler. Here, poetry and song fill the air, and as the journey unfolds, Dante's heart begins to lighten as well. The mountain of Purgatory has 7 terraces, each dedicated to purging one of the 7 deadly sins: pride, envy, wrath, sloth, avarice, gluttony, and lust. On each terrace, souls work through their sins by enduring punishments that correct their faults. On the terrace of pride, for example, souls carry massive stones on their backs, forced to bow low to the ground, symbolically learning humility. In the terrace of envy, souls with their eyes sewn shut share their laments and prayers for others, learning to rejoice in their neighbor's good fortune. On each level, Dante learns lessons in compassion, humility, patience, and generosity. As Virgil guides him, Dante meets old friends, poets, and fellow countrymen. He encounters artists who speak to him of the transient nature of fame and the importance of virtue. The atmosphere is not one of despair, but of gradual improvement. Souls encourage each other. They sing hymns and pray. The closer Dante climbs to the summit, the closer he gets to spiritual maturity. Over time, Dante himself grows more compassionate and reflective. He not only observes, but also internalizes the lessons of purgatory, feeling his soul become lighter, more aligned with divine will. Eventually, Dante and Virgil reach the earthly paradise at the mountain summit, a lush, Eden-like garden brimming with flowers, soft breezes, and the gentle murmur of a clear river. This place is free from sorrow and marked by perfect balance. And here, Dante must face one final trial. Virgil, who has been Dante's steadfast mentor through hell and purgatory, cannot guide him any further. Virgil was a virtuous pagan, wise and noble, but never baptized in a Christian faith. He can lead Dante to the threshold of salvation, but not into heaven's embrace. With tenderness and gratitude, Dante parts ways with Virgil, thanking him for saving his life, for being both a father figure and a wise teacher. It is an emotional, bittersweet farewell, as Virgil's role is now complete. Dante is ready to meet his next guide, Beatrice. Beatrice is no ordinary guide. In life, she was Dante's beloved muse, the symbol of divine love and purity. She appears in the earthly paradise, clothed in radiant white, surrounded by a mystical pageant representing the triumph of the church. When Dante first sees Beatrice, he is overcome with emotion, weeping tears of shame and longing. She gently reprimands him for having strayed from the path of righteousness after her death. It's a stern but loving rebuke. She represents divine wisdom and grace, and under her guidance, Dante will now ascend into Paradiso, the heavenly realm, to witness the glory of God and the harmony of the saints and angels. Ascending into heaven is a completely different experience from the descent into hell. Here, instead of a physical journey downward, Dante rises through the spheres of the celestial heavens, each sphere closer to God and more suffused with love and understanding. The universe is imagined according to the Ptolemaic model. Earth at the center, surrounded by concentric spheres of the moon, Mercury, Venus, the Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, the fixed stars, and finally the primum mobile that encloses all creation, beyond which lies the Empyrean, the mind of God. At each heavenly sphere, Dante encounters souls who exemplify virtues refined to perfection. On the moon, he meets those who broke vows under pressure, now smiling in serene acceptance of God's justice. On Mercury, he finds souls who pursued honor and fame, now understanding that true honor lies only in God. On Venus, souls of lovers glow with joy, purged of selfish desire, and now brimming with divine affection. As Dante moves upward, he meets theologians, martyrs, saints, and biblical figures, each shining brighter, each stage unveiling deeper truths. The sun hosts the great wise spirits, philosophers and theologians who share their enlightened understanding of the divine. On Mars, the heroic spirits who fought for faith and justice form a radiant cross in the sky. As Dante contemplates this symbol, he feels his heart filled with awe and hope. The higher Dante ascends, the more challenging it becomes to translate his experiences into human language. He meets St. Peter, who questions him about faith. He speaks with St. James, who tests him on hope, and St. John, who examines him on love. Dante's spiritual understanding matures rapidly. As he moves beyond the visible stars, the glory and complexity of heaven intensify. In the highest spheres, he sees row upon row of angelic hierarchies, spinning like wheels of fire. The saints form a white rose of celestial petals, each soul radiating bliss, each face turned lovingly toward God. Finally, Dante reaches the Empyrean, the realm beyond physical form, filled with pure light and love. Here, he sees God's presence manifested as three interlocking circles of divine light, an image of the Holy Trinity. In that sublime vision, Dante attempts to comprehend the mysteries of the divine, how God's love moves the sun and the other stars, how everything is interconnected in a vast cosmic harmony, how divine grace orchestrates a universe where each soul finds its proper place. It is a moment of ecstatic revelation. Dante gazes into the eternal light and, for a fleeting instant, understands how the human soul is aligned with the divine. Words fail him. He can only attempt to describe the overwhelming feeling of unity, love, and peace that surpasses all earthly experience. And then, as suddenly as it began, Dante's journey is complete, with a final prayer to the love that moves the sun and the other stars. He returns to Earth, to the world of mortality and memory. He carries with him not just a series of visions, but a profound transformation. He has journeyed through the darkest depths of hell, witnessing the destructive power of sin. He has climbed the arduous paths of purgatory, learning the value of repentance, humility, and perseverance. He has soared into the luminous spheres of heaven, beholding the final truth that all creation is rooted in divine love. At its core, the Divine Comedy is a deeply moral and spiritual work. It insists that every action has consequences, that human choices either bring us closer to or further away from ultimate goodness. Dante's journey is everyone's journey, a passage through confusion and error toward understanding and redemption. The poem underlines the importance of free will. Sinners in hell chose their fates by clinging stubbornly to sin. Souls in purgatory work diligently to cleanse their souls, symbolizing that while divine grace is essential, human effort and cooperation with grace are equally important. And the saints in heaven represent the fulfillment of human potential, perfected in divine love. By populating his story with real historical figures, mythological creatures, and personal acquaintances, Dante creates a moral and spiritual tapestry that readers can recognize and relate to, even across centuries. He places contemporary political enemies and corrupt clergymen in hell, reflecting the poem's bold commentary on moral hypocrisy and the misuse of power. He lets us see noble pagans and learned souls who lacked revelation but still embody human excellence, reflecting a worldview that respects virtue wherever it is found. And in paradise, we meet radiant personalities like Beatrice and Saint Bernard, guiding Dante to the ultimate truth that transcends words. The settings themselves have a narrative function. The infernal landscapes are twisted and dark, often mirroring the sins they punish. Tempest for the lustful, eyes for the traitors, filth for the flatterers. In Purgatory, the climbing, open-air terraces and cleansing rituals reveal a place of upward striving, progress, and renewal. The heavenly spheres, suffused with light and musical harmony, evoke unity, understanding, and unending love. Each realm immerses us in its atmosphere and moral logic, making the poem a sensory and emotional journey as much as an intellectual one. It's impossible to read Dante's encounters without feeling something stir inside. We see him recoil in horror and weep with pity in hell. We watch him struggle to understand the justice of punishments and marvel at the wisdom of his guide. We feel a pang of sadness when Virgil must depart, a character we've grown to trust and admire for his steadfast loyalty and gentle counsel. We share Dante's awe when he meets Beatrice, the embodiment of divine love, who rekindles his spiritual yearning. And when he finally glimpses God, we share his speechlessness and attempt to comprehend that infinite brilliance. In the end, Dante's journey is an emotional one. He begins as a lost soul, full of fear and doubt, and ends as someone who has faced the darkest evils, embraced the difficult work of moral self-improvement, and ascended to the highest truth. In telling this remarkable story, Dante gave the world not just a literary masterpiece, but a grand vision of the moral universe, a poetic blueprint for navigating life's moral challenges. The Divine Comedy stands at the crossroads of religious devotion, philosophical inquiry, and creative imagination. Its influence has shaped centuries of thought, art, and spirituality, inspiring countless readers to reflect on their own paths, their own moral struggles, and their own capacity for redemption. As we close this summary, picture Dante at the end of his journey. He has emerged from the forest of confusion, descended into the bowels of hell to understand sin's destructive nature, climbed the terraces of Purgatory to cleanse himself, and ascended through the shining spheres of heaven to witness divine love firsthand. This grand odyssey is not just his story, it's a mirror held up to every soul. In Dante's universe, we are reminded that no matter how lost we may feel, there's always the possibility of turning toward the light, growing in understanding, and finding our way back home to love.